Hello and welcome to Wilde Sports. I am the host, Sean, with my co-host right over here, Fu. Just a couple of buddies, grew up together on Wild Green Drive, hence the name Wilde Sports. Just a couple of guys enjoy talking about sports. Thought we'd just share that passion with y'all. I can tell you right now, I'm a big, huge dog fan, and then everything Atlanta outside of that. So, what about you, big guy?
Of course, the diehard Alabama fan, originally from Alabama, so Alabama runs in the family. But moved up there next to Sean when I was young, and got all the Atlanta sports in me. Definitely Braves and Falcons, and a little bit of the Hawks. So we got a little bit of a rivalry there between us in the college aspect, but we're teammates.
Oh, without a doubt.
On the pro
and
side.
It's quite the rivalry.
That's
so
right.
much fun. We've gone to every single game we've gone to. I've come on the losing end, so it's been a great time. This week is a pretty important week. We're a week away from draft time. It's pretty simple who the top two picks are going to be. We're between the Alabama QB, Bryce Young, and then the Ohio State Buckeye, CJ Stroud. What we leaning? How we leaning here?
Well, being biased on this topic, it's pretty simple for me, but it's not just the bias. I was looking at stats. They're basically the same. Bryce, 66%. This is career. CJ, 69. He's got the edge there. Bryce had a total of a little over 8,300 yards. CJ's got 81. Touchdowns, Bryce 80, CJ 85. Both 12 interceptions. Bryce had 7 rushing touchdowns. CJ 1. No difference there. I mean, to me, there's no difference.
I saw the same thing. I saw the exact same thing. Numbers were identical. What stood out for me, I heavily favor the IQ, especially for like NFL. I favor IQ over size in the NFL. And that's like the big thing between Stroud and Young is their size. And I'd rather have a Drew Brees, a 5'10", 5'11", whatever you want to call him, over someone with prototypical NFL size because he's got this. And I mean, I don't know Bryce Young personally, but all I've read and heard is that his IQ for football is off the charts.
So are we agreeing on this?
You got the brains.
Are we agreeing on this?
Unfortunately. But my least favorite college in college football.
Don't say the cuss word.
Buckeyes. I won't do it.
Don't do it.
But usually it does start with a different word.
That's right. I mean, I agree with you. Obviously I got to see every play that Bryce Young played in college. Didn't probably miss one, other than maybe a bathroom break or something. But to me, the separation is just the clutch factor. I mean, Bryce did things that I haven't seen quarterbacks, even the ones at Alabama in the past, do. I mean, he won a bunch of football games for us, clutch time. Things that come to mind, obviously, the Texas game last year, that little duck he hit. It's just the vision of it. And then the drive against Auburn that year, just completing 4th and 12. And I was at that game in Auburn. It's just a rowdy environment, and he doesn't get phased. He's cool at the other side of the pillow. I think he's got that it factor that I don't see many quarterbacks have. He's got that vision, that instinct. I know you hate the crossover talk about, I hear him say he's like a point guard, but it's just the vision that he has of the field. And it's not, I don't see anything wrong with CJ Stroud. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think, he's got a great future in the NFL, but if I'm taking the first pick, I'm going Bryce.
So
It's easy
yeah,
for
I
me.
definitely don't. I agree. I don't think you miss with either of these two.
No.
Again, I would much rather the smarter guy. Not to say Stroud's dumb, but he did go to a dumb college. All right, but I would take the more football IQ guy. Their numbers are exactly the same. So give me the IQ.
Okay. Well, we
You know,
agree. I was expecting us to come out throwing blows here first thing.
not yet.
Okay, not yet.
That's your question too. All right. All
That's
right. So
good. Okay. So I guess next, who do you got as your third best quarterback?
I would go, and it
Hootie's
was
making
tough.
points.
I'll admit, Hootie is amazing. By the way, that is the mascot of
That's
this
it. He
show.
is. He is.
Uh, it was tough, honestly. I'd say good examples of QBs coming into the NFL with prototypical size and accuracy issues. I feel like in the last couple of years have shown that the accuracy issues don't matter as much because they can fix those these days. Josh Allen, wasn't very accurate. Jalen Hurts wasn't very accurate, at least on deep balls. They've fixed that, and they're now top 4, in my opinion, in the league. So I'm going to take a freakish athlete with accuracy issues in Anthony Richardson.
Mm.
That's the third guy for me. You come into the not draft, the combine, and you put on the most impressive athletic performance of a QB in history.
Yeah.
I think if they fix that accuracy issue down the road or even early on, later on, whatever it is, he could literally be in the talks of best QB drafted in this class.
I agree. I mean, I see a lot of upside in Anthony Richardson. I do. 6'4", almost 250 pounds, ran a 4.43. He passes the eye test. No doubt about that. He just makes me nervous. That's the high risk, high reward, for sure. I see a lot of potential there, but I also see a lot of things in college that would scare me as a professional owner. I think it's just, and I see these things of him going 1 to 3 to 6. I can see you taking the risk on him, a little bit lower, but that stuff just makes me nervous. If I'm making the pick, like I said, you're either going to look like a hero or you're going to look like an idiot.
I mean, it's definitely a job altering decision.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to use a pick that high, especially with some of the people you're going to pass up to take him. I don't know. I mean, I see shades of Cam Newton in there. Obviously, the size and strength and speed. And obviously, Cam had some really, really good years in the pros, but Cam had no question marks coming out of college. He's probably one of the best people I've ever seen play the football game. And that's hard for me to say. But again, it's just, it's a high risk, high reward. I personally, on my next pick, and I know this is against what all mock drafts and everything are saying, I'm going Hendon Hooker.
I've seen him climbing for sure.
I was just looking. I mean, he was at. I didn't realize that he was at Virginia Tech until he, smoked us in October. I mean, he was unreal against Alabama. But just looking at his numbers, 2021, he threw for 2,900, almost 3,000 yards, 68%, 31-3 touchdown ratio, with 616 on the ground and 5 touchdowns. Senior year cut short due to injury, which is, now ACLs or MCL, whichever one he did, torn up knee. They recover so fast from those. But Last year he went for 31, 35, 70%, 27-2 with 430 rush yards and 5 touchdowns. The touchdown to interception ratio, I love it. I mean, it's so low. I mean, it's
that's definitely
it's Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud numbers. So
that's definitely a good upside potential was protecting the football. It's the biggest thing for QB. I had him behind Levis.
Really?
And the only reason is because Levis is an absolute hoss. I don't know if you've seen his pictures he's been posting since he's been working out again. He looks like a freaking linebacker.
Yeah.
He can make some holy hell throws. And then those other throws that are like, what are you doing? Why would you throw that? So I mean, if we're talking strictly arm talent, I rank him top of the outside of Stroud and Young, top of the next 4. He's arm talent. I'd put him above all of them. Hooker, in my eyes, I see him as a project QB with some upside. Good size, decent athlete. He's got an average arm. I think a lot of his success in college with him was boosted by some great athletes to work with and a good play caller in Heupel.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he benefited from the most annoying thing in college football, aka the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And which I guess that I don't know where you had Levis, but I'm going to assume that we had the Heisman runner-up as dead last in our next 4 QBs.
The Heisman runner-up. Yeah. Well, first thing on Levis, don't like him. Not as a person. I don't know him.
Right.
As a quarterback on the football field, wouldn't touch him. Would not touch him. I get the Anthony Richardson thing high because of just the all factor of him, but Will Levis, I don't get it. I mean, he looks good. Yeah, that's great. But, go look in an NFL locker room. They all look like Greek gods. Like, not convinced on him. Numbers are ugly as far as touchdown interception. I know he played at Kentucky, but Kentucky's been a good football team the last couple of years compared to their past. But I wouldn't touch him. I do not get the hype on this kid. I really don't. Hence why.
So with that being said, you still have Duggan behind him.
No, I've got Levis in front of Duggan because I'm not convinced on Duggan. I mean, I could put them at right next to each other. I mean, I just don't. Levis, giving Levis maybe a little bit of an edge, but I saw Duggan. He started all 4 years. Not terrible numbers. Progressively got better. I was looking at his touchdown interception ratios, which is to me what I like to look at when I'm looking NFL, along with the yards and stuff. But 32-8 as a senior, and it just progressively got better every year. So I like to see that he got better. I don't see that in Will Levis. It actually got worse if you look at the stat column. Everywhere from, he increased in yards, but completion percentage went down, touchdown interception ratio went down, rushing yards went down. I know he spent a little bit of last year hurt. Not saying I see Will Levis, Max Duggan, those guys. I would feel safe with them in like a 3rd round.
That's early.
Like Desmond Ritter type prospects.
God.
Hopefully Desmond Ritter,
we have to say that right now.
steps it up. But that's where I see these guys. Even Anthony Richardson. I get people taking the risk, but I don't get taking the risk on Will Levis.
You see, Dugan reminds me of that like college QB. What I mean by that is like he's got just the heart and passion for the game of football.
Yeah.
But he's only got the attributes or qualities to play that position at the college level.
Yeah.
Just dude plays with his heart on his sleeve. I mean, I don't know if you watched that Big 12 championship game or if you were.
Oh yeah, that was a good
doing.
one.
He
He's a ball
was,
player,
yeah.
no doubt. I mean,
He
not
reminds me so much of like a much less freakish Tebow.
yeah. I mean, nothing against these guys. I just
Yeah, of course
like
not.
you're talking about when you're talking NFL level, I don't see it. But I've been wrong. To me, quarterback is the hardest thing to. I mean, other than when you have guys like Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, these big name guys. Like it's hard to pick. I mean, who saw Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he put up the numbers in college. He did big things, but he wasn't a top overall draft pick. It's tough. And how many busts have there been? I think it's a tough position to see what they're going to do. And I think it deals with a lot of how much are they willing to do off the field?
Mm-hmm.
How much are they in that, in that film room? How much are they learning? What situation they get put in? I think a lot of these guys get put into terrible situations coming into a team that's awful. Just getting killed early. And, then you got guys that get to go in and get behind a veteran and learn the game and learn the ins and outs and sets them up. But, that's not today and age. They want the right now, let's start them.
Yes, absolutely.
They want the Patrick Mahomes. He kind of ruined ruined the mold.
I mean, he sat behind Alex Smith.
For a year, maybe?
Yeah. Before we move to the next position group, what's a name outside of the QBs we just named that has the best chance of making it? I'm not going to say on a roster because there's going to be plenty of these guys on a roster. Who's the Brock Purdy of this year?
Wow.
Tough. I know.
I don't know. It's kind of a tough name to live up to right now.
Very tough name because he was an absolute stud.
I'm not saying who you might be thinking.
I'm going to leave his name for later in the show, even though it's probably my answer. I'm going to say a different name for sake of the rest of the show.
I don't know that I have, and I mean, I guess maybe I would say Hendon Hooker. I'm not saying I like Hendon Hooker.
That's fine.
I do not think that he's going first round, honestly.
Who's that?
He's probably going to fall a little further than that, I bet. But I would say someone like that, barring that he's healthy. His recovery's going. I think that's kind of the tier I put him in. Is that later, mid, third, fourth, third round probably. I don't know. Some are saying he's creeping up higher, but who knows? But I would probably say, I guess mine would be Hendon because I really, like I said, I don't see it in Levis or
right
or Max.
I hear you. Since I can't say the one I want to say for later purposes, I gotta lean towards. I'm calling him Derek Carr Jr. Jake Haener out of Fresno State. He's just, if he had Carr's size, I'd feel so much more comfortable. But he's only about 6 foot.
Yeah.
But with, there's not that many great QBs coming out. So, I mean, outside the ones we already discussed, I'd probably lean Haener over anybody.
Okay.
Oh, no, not over anybody, but over anybody and that one.
Oh, God.
Yes. Don't oh, God me. I will not allow him.
Are you talking like AJ coming back?
No.
He's probably going to get signed after this unbelievable XFL season he's having. So,
well, it was a great show, and we'll. All right. Which you want to start with some? I mean, kind of what we did with the offense. I'm going to go ahead and start with the defense as well. There's literally 2 guys that are head and heels above the rest of the defensive guys. Personal opinion. I think it's easy to say who's going first defensive wise because of the off-field issues of the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously the two I'm referring to at least, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. Kind of weird, Bama, Georgia. Yeah. Well,
That's
whoa.
right.
I don't think there's a question at all who the best defensive product coming to this draft is because of the off-field issues. I'm giving it to Will Anderson. If there were no off-field issues, I'd still have to genuinely think about it. I'm disappointed for Jalen because before all this stuff started happening, there were talks of him going 1 overall.
Yep.
There were talks of him definitely top 5, not even getting out of that. Now I'm hearing he's going to get out of the first round. I don't think it's going to happen, but
no chance.
That's what I'm hearing.
No chance.
So I think, unfortunately, we both agree that Will is going first defensive player going.
Yep.
So anyone gambling can take that to Vegas.
Yeah,
because that's easy.
Yeah, he's a stud. No question, he's a freak. Jalen Carter, same thing. Just a monster of a man. Two different positions. So I also just saw something that said he's met with everybody in the top 10 except for Carolina, Atlanta, and whoever's in the 10 spot. So he's met with everybody else. And I also saw a report that said Chicago, if he's available at 9, they will not pass up on him.
Nice.
So I don't see Jalen Carter ever getting out of the first round. No way. But I don't see him dropping past no worse than 10.
Do you ever read those articles and the second someone says something like that, you're just like, yep, nope, no more?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. The one that said Chicago wasn't going to pass up was like NBC or somebody. It was like it wasn't like a, at Chicago area sports, like something little. It was like a big. So I'm with you. I agree. Those are two head and shoulders above.
So outside of those two defenders, we have some nice first-round talent defenders. Outside of the inside linebacker position, I think they're very weak this year at the inside linebacker position.
I agree.
What position would you like to start with? Because I've kind of led the way so far.
Before we get off a defensive line, I've got one guy, and maybe you. But Atlanta's big time talking about drafting this guy, and I would be livid. I'm seeing him in a lot of mock drafts, and it's Tyree Wilson. He's huge. I mean, he's a mammoth. He's a monster, 6'6", 270, big guy, but he's one-dimensional. I mean, he is like – no fast twitch, no quick moves. He is just straight. It's almost like a bull rush, like maybe a quick move.
Yeah.
Maybe you could, but I feel like in the NFL, you've got to have that. You got to have a lot of moves in your arsenal to get past offensive tackles. They're so good, and I'm not a fan. And I'm seeing big things about him, and I'm not seeing it. I mean, the guy I looked up, he had 7 sacks, which I mean is not bad, but when you're talking top 10 pick, I'm not seeing it. So I don't know if you've paid any attention to him or watched him, but
so I do think he is. I have him as the best, and before I get bashed for it, I'm referring to these players with Will and Jalen out of the conversation. I have Tyree as the best edge coming out outside of the other two, obviously.
I mean,
with that being said, and not to give away, some Falcons talk later, I will be so angry if I'm very set on what I want the Falcons to do, and you'll hear about it later. I'm like solely set on this happening, and that's it.
Okay.
So if I see Tyree Wilson, that's what you're going to see.
I will be too, because I'm just not sold on him. All right, next one I've got is I kind of stayed away from the inside linebackers. I mean, when I saw reports that Henry To'oTo'o was possibly one of the best ones. That kind of tells me all I need to know. And he's a Bama guy, so that's an honest opinion there. I went defensive backs.
Okay.
Got one I love. Love him. I think he's a game changer. And that's Christian Gonzalez. That dude's got it. He's taller, he's rangy, he's fast. 4.38. Lockdown moves really fluent. I like him. I really like the way he plays. Big fan of him.
He's a big dude.
He's
a big guy. 6'1", 197.
Yep.
4.38. I like it. I have him as the second best corner.
Interesting. Who you got?
I have Devin Witherspoon ahead of him from Illinois. Solely based on the fact that Georgia pieced this dude up, and I hate to be so personal. I get it.
Oh gosh. Pieced him up.
Pieced him up. Routed.
I probably pieced
a lot was on
the defense up.
And then, I mean, I feel like, and this is why I can never be, a scout. To look at Oregon's defensive backs and to look at Illinois' defensive backs and think, oh man, studs. It's just so crazy to think, like, and I'm pretty sure like one of Illinois' safeties was pretty high up there too. But I mean, it's kind of like what we said earlier with the other position. You can't go wrong with either of these two. But I'm giving the edge solely based off of one game, like an idiot.
Biased. It gets us all though. That's one I'm going to disagree. This is going to be probably our first disagreement here. Not a big one. I mean, because I think I had him at like the 2-3 spot. I kind of was flip-flopping between him and Joey Porter Jr. I like Joey Porter. I like defensive backs with length.
What's his name? Not Dan Campbell. Dan Quinn. The Dan Quinn disease.
I like him with length as long as that's why I like Chris, because he's not real tall, but he's he moves. He moves well. Joey Porter same way. Your guy, I think he's just a little bit shorter, but I don't think he's I have no problem with him. But I definitely think Christian Gonzalez to me is head and shoulders above the rest from just what I've watched.
So let's get to the other defensive backs. All right, let's go safety. I'd love to talk about all the safeties, but I'm gonna focus on one. It's from your school, so the only question I'm gonna ask.
We're agreeing way too much.
The only question I'm gonna ask is he drafted in the first 20 picks?
No. I don't think first 20 no.
First 20 no.
Often, just with what I see in quarterbacks, I think quarterbacks are going deep. I think there's a lot of good defensive back. I think some of the defensive backs we're talking about are going to go early. The offensive line, I think there's 4 or 5 of them. Not to hate on the big dogs that we're not talking about, but
they are 4 or 5
that they're talking big things about, and I think they come off the board. Some other positions we'll talk about later that we hadn't got to that I see going early. I don't see him top 20. I see him late first, early second, probably more towards the late first. So you think he gets
out of the first round?
Possibly. As crazy as the draft can be sometimes, but
I think someone reaches.
Maybe.
I think someone reaches, and I think it's going to be someone – I'd have to look at the order, but I think he goes right before 20, 17 through 19 area. That's what I'm going to go with. Go with 17 through 9. I mean, dude's a baller.
He is. He makes plays, man.
Dude's a baller. He's not the fastest, but he can literally play the entire defensive backfield. You know, he's not fast, but he's quick.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense to people. And he's a great tackle and safety. And in the NFL, you need a tackle.
Yeah, and obviously this is a guy I got to watch a lot too. He's got instinct, and that instinct makes up for the lack of. I mean, he's not slow, but he's not that 4.3, 4.4. But he's always around the ball. And he always was making plays. Like when we needed a play, it seemed like you could look for Brian Branch and he was going to make the play. Just consistent. Wasn't real flashy in his play, but he just made football plays.
Yeah.
I think he's great too. But I don't know if he goes top 20. Maybe. I'd like to see it, but
we'll see. We will see. It's how many days away? Like 7 plus about 12 days away, something like that. 14. Yeah. 13 days away.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's move on to the pass catchers.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Interesting group here.
Very interesting. They're all very different. Especially like the top X amount. They're all so different in their own way.
I agree.
Let's see.
Why don't we switch it up? Why don't we start with who do you see as a no-go? Who's your no-go?
As a no-go.
Who are you not liking?
I'm not liking.
Whose hype are you not buying into? Huh?
Nathaniel Dell.
Nathaniel Dell.
That's the guy. Nathaniel. That's the guy out of Houston. There's just so many 5'8" guys that can make it in this league. And he's just not going to be one of them. So I'm going to have to go. There's no hype in my book on Nathaniel Dell.
We have similar assets in no fly for me is Zay Flowers. Another 5.
Dang, I like it.
Quick.
I think Zay's going to find a way.
I see the hype talk about him, dude, but there's so many, like you're talking about. It's the same argument. There's so many 5'8", 5'9" guys with speed in the NFL. Like there's only so many of those that I feel like are going to make it. And I'm just not buying into the hype of him. I'm not.
I'm sitting here looking at some of these guys, right? And once you get out of like the first 6, maybe 7, I'm looking at the rest and I'm just, it's kind of slim pickings. There's some interesting ones later on, like Keyshawn Boot, who I think is underrated.
The Booty?
The Booty.
The Booty from LSU?
And then Jonathan Mingo. God, we sound so SEC biased.
I know. I hadn't thought about that before we did this. I was like, but hey.
But I mean, then again, that's who we get to watch. Like it's tough for us to comment on Fresno State wide receivers.
That's true. I don't think a lot of people get to see those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they're playing them.
I mean, yeah, the wide receiver class, Jaden Hazelwood, punk that. No, I'm just joking. All right, so I mean, we both kind of agree. We both disagree with. Well, not both. I think Zay Flowers is gonna make it. We have the same reasoning as to why those guys that we mentioned aren't gonna make it. So let's go to who do we think is. I mean, there's obviously a few that are the most ready.
Yeah.
Who do we like the best coming out?
I've got my guy. And I know we've talked before we even started this about who we liked, but I've switched up who I like.
Okay.
Quentin Johnston is the guy I like. And here's the reason why.
And what is his school per se?
Okay, we know that y'all stopped him in the national.
No. That's not where I was going with that.
We know, but that's because he had Max. I think I was saying his name wrong earlier. Max D from TCU.
Duggan.
I think I was saying it wrong earlier. Well, look,
It
this,
is what it is.
barring playing Georgia's defense, let's just take the bias out of it, Sean.
He won bad, even against Georgia. All right.
This guy, he's huge. I mean,
Yes.
he's 6'3", 215. He's a 4'4" guy. And I just see a lot. Maybe it's like the defensive backs, and I know that like kind of the tall wide receivers. That's kind of like going out of style. I feel like in the NFL, like not completely, but I feel like you had that run there of like the Julios and those guys that were like the 6'3" that were kind of taking over the. That was kind of
with all the attributes too.
Right, and everything, but
AJ, Julio,
yeah,
Keenan Allen.
There was that little run of them. Well, Quentin's bringing it back.
All
6'3". Right. I think I know who you're going to go with on your guy.
I think you are, only because I've been so hell bent on talking about him, and he comes from my least favorite college.
And go ahead, because I've backed out on him. I've backed out. So go ahead and
going with Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Oh, so you're talking about the guy that sat out all last year?
I am, yeah. I am talking about that one. Something tells me he is. I think what I'm seeing is the success of other receivers from that school come in and make impact year after year after year. Garrett Wilson, who's the one in New Orleans right now. What did you say?
Olave.
Thank you. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas.
Injured.
Michael Thomas. Anyway, I think it's a good omen. I like him.
So we're going off wrong.
I'm not gonna be upset if I get Quentin, because I'm just not. And it's kind of like the Falcons' MO right now is size, size, size. They love their big targets.
Yeah.
Is there I have a bit of a hot take. So there's two receivers out of the same school in the top. What is this? 2, 4, 6, 8. Top 8. Unfortunately, come out of the SEC. One of them is Jalen Hyatt, and the other is Cedric Tillman.
I love Jalen Hyatt, and he murdered
Here's
us.
the hot take. Cedric Tillman's going to be the better pro. I feel like Jalen's a one-trick pony.
But
he's
so
a
Devontae
great deep threat.
When I see Jalen Hyatt, and I don't like, we're not comparing him to saying that he's going to be this guy, but what he reminds me of. When I watched him just gash us, it was what Devontae Smith would do to people. I think he had probably almost 300 yards against us and like 4 or 5 touchdowns. It's like we just couldn't cover him. And you had guys like Brian Branch trying to cover. So you had good guys covering him. And, that's what Devontae did. Devontae didn't just, pull the waddle and cut weave and make, these long runs. Or Hyatt has that deep threat. And he just finds a way to get open. I don't, But Tillman, hey, that guy's a stud too. I mean, nothing against him, but.
So before we move on to the couple of tight ends that are, serviceable, let's talk about the 2022. Is that the right year? Either the 2021 or 2022 Bolentikoff winner, Jordan Addison.
He makes me nervous.
He's just tiny. I don't mean his. I mean, yeah, he's 5'11", so he's not short by any means. He is, but he's not.
I had him high risk, high reward. He's one. If I could get him later, I'm not taking him first round.
Okay.
Because of one thing. 2. I know he had Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh.
Correct.
So when he was
And
at
then he had
Pittsburgh,
the Heisman winner at USC.
so he had a quarterback. No excuses there. Not really sure if he had injuries or not. I didn't really check into that. But
yeah, I didn't really look either.
The drop off in production, but I just didn't even. But okay, he went for 60 receptions and 666 yards this year. So, but I didn't hear anything about it. Like he was, and he was.
I can agree to that. I didn't hear much about it.
I knew everything about him when he was at Pittsburgh, and then he gets put on a platform. I mean, the whole offseason was about how much is this kid going to cost. He's going to USC for $5 million and getting a house and a car. And, so he had all this hype going into it, and then where was he all year? And coming from 100 receptions at Pittsburgh and almost 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns.
So then you can almost use that same, thought process. You went from Pittsburgh to USC, bigger platform, Heisman QB, better offensive coach, less production. What if he goes to the NFL? Going to be a better QB, going to be a better coach, well, maybe
more
not
money.
Much better than. Yeah, exactly. So what if it's just I'm not on board with Bilentikov.
I think if I could get him second round, I wouldn't be disappointed in that. Being any team, not just Falcons, but but I'm not using my first round draft pick on him.
Absolutely not.
I'm not. But I do think there's upside there. But I also think there's kind of.
So let me ask you: do you have more than 3 tight ends to talk about?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So I think it's pretty unanimous that the 3 tight ends are Utah's Dalton Kincaid, Notre Dame's Michael Mayer, and Georgia's Darnell Washington. Now, before I get blown up.
Oh, don't say you did it.
Darnell is getting drafted outside of the first round. I've had so many dog fans scorn me. I've had them swear at me. I've been called so many things, and yeah, anyway. He's a phenomenal football player. He's massive. He made the blocking drill look like he had a kid's version of that thing. But coming from someone who watched every game, he just wasn't present. Not at blocking, present. Accounted for, check. When it came to the passing, the receiving portion, I didn't feel his presence as much as I should with how absolutely massive the kid is.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely getting drafted outside the first round. I think he's third best at best. I think that if someone I'm not thinking of has some pass catching abilities, I'd put him ahead with today's NFL.
Yeah.
But go ahead and you can give your take on him and or go into the Dalton Michael Mayer debate.
I mean, I think Michael Mayer to me is. I think I got to see him more.
NBC, baby.
Yeah, I think I got to see him play a little more, but he reminds me of a lot of tight ends you've seen, in the past. Kincaid, same thing. I mean, they're both. I think a lot of NFL teams are going to be looking for those guys, especially as important as the tight end position has become in the NFL. Your boy from the Bulldogs, I like to say look like Tarzan, play like Jane, just in production. I mean,
right.
I would be terrified of him, as I sit here and, drink Milo sweet tea and eat, crackers over here. This guy is a monster of a man. Obviously, he's a freak of an athlete, and I know that Brock Bowers probably shines, brighter and takes a lot of stuff from him, but I'd still just didn't see production out of him in the pass game. Like, I would like to see, if people are saying first round, like,
Yeah.
a
No
tight
one takes
end
a blocker in the first round.
I think we talked about this in the past, like a tight end that he had like 3 touchdowns. I'm like,
Somewhere around there.
somewhere it wasn't anything,
We'll go less than 5.
Like, to me, that's not first round.
But what I want to do for people who don't know who these 3 are, I'm going to go with Michael Meyer, Darnell, Dalton when I'm discussing what I'm discussing. The height, 6'4", 6'7", 6'4". The weight, 249, 264, 246. The 40 times, 470, 464, 471. So you can see why people are so just in awe and why they would think first round. But at some point, there's got to be, for a first round tight end especially, that it's not a very premium position in the NFL unless you find that premium guy.
Yeah.
You have to have some like wow factor.
I agree.
Pass catching. The blocking was a wow factor.
Yeah.
But you don't draft a blocker in the first round unless it's an offensive lineman.
That's right.
So, I think this next topic is going to be fun because I feel like the NFL is getting back into the running game, being included a little more than it has in the past. And I'm actually very excited about that because I enjoy a good runner every now and then.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of the positions, I feel like there's a top 2 and then a drop off. Let's see. So obviously the top 2 are Bijan Robinson and then Georgia Tech's own Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, he did transfer to Alabama, I guess. I don't know. Let's see.
Wow.
Just so because everyone knows who Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs are. Do they both go in the first round?
Possibly. One for sure.
Was that? Okay,
Possibly.
one for sure. I like that.
Sure.
I give Gibbs the same, not excuse, the same reasoning I gave Branch. Someone's gonna trade back in 26 through 30-ish and be like, yo, we need that dynamic guy running the ball. So I think I'm going to go with, they both go in the first. I think someone trades back in.
I could see it. I could see someone taking Gibbs later.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Now the rest of them. Now I joined a dynasty football league.
Where was my invite?
It was. Do you want to see this team? So I got invited to this team that it was in shambles. And so I was looking because I need to build up like crazy, and a name couple names I keep seeing are, and I'm gonna botch his last name, but it's Devin Akane and Zach Charbonnet. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I watched some Texas A&M games and they weren't very good. But even when I watched them, I don't remember hearing Devin Akane's name.
That's because his name was Devon A-Chain, sir.
Yeah, that one.
That's why you don't remember hearing it, because you don't know what it is.
It's okay. What was it again?
Devon A-Chain.
That's the second time I've heard it ever. Thank you.
Wow.
So
that's because y'all didn't play Texas A&M.
It could probably be that, and the fact that they're never on TV, or not, I don't ever watch them. I thought they were terrible. Kane came into the combine as well, and pretty sure he put up like a 4.3,
almost in 4.2s.
Yeah, right. I mean, so he's small. I wish there was a thing that came through, and it showed like it was said like X amount of running backs that were this size, this weight, have made it in the NFL for more than 2 seasons, and the two that were they were two studs, but the rest were just busts. And I wish I could remember where I found that because it had been such a good like just piece of information. I'm not gonna find it, but anyway. So Zach, you want to pronounce that one too, or
I don't know if it's Charbonnet. I don't know. The UCLA. He's from UCLA. I did
yes,
see him play a little bit. Um,
he's kind of that bigger, kind
he's
of a bigger
big.
guy.
He's a thicker guy. He's kind of like what we've got in Atlanta. Devon A-Chain. I'm with you. I put him as like a sleeper pick. Like I think he's another guy's got a lot of upside, but like you said, you don't see guys of his size really, make long term franchise running backs. Super fast, good in the return game as well. So you've got a little bit of bonus getting him by like a return in the return game. He's a game changer. He's a guy that can take it to the house at any second. But again, I've seen some stuff where he's going first round. Of course, you can just about see any draft that has him first round. But I've seen him, kind of hyped up a little bit. I think a lot of people have him as like the fourth best, probably behind Zach from UCLA. But I'm like you. I think there's a big drop off between 1 and 2. Of course, there can be surprise people that come through, but I actually put A-Chain as my third just because of the big play potential and the
Akati,
speed.
yes.
The speed. Speed kills. And I got to see him do it a couple times, but yeah, I think it's a pretty clear cut 1-2, and then pick your poison beyond there.
So let's go through some more of the interesting names here. Tajay Spears from Tulane. Any chance?
No.
I mean, he's an elite receiver.
No.
Okay.
First round potential?
Tucker.
First round potential.
Oh, no, I'm not going to say first round. No.
No,
I was just saying, can we see them making it in the NFL? We'll go with, stick with, some bet parameters. Let's say 5 years.
I mean, if I was betting, I would say no because NFL not for long. But especially at the running back position, I feel like that's something that, I mean, they can stay on a roster, but as far as being, relevant, it just seems like guys are there for a minute and then they're gone the next. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whoever would have thought he would have become, second tier, put on like a practice squad just about.
Real
after
quick.
Being, everybody was so hyped on him the year before, and then Pacheco comes in and he's just like gone. Like, where'd he go? He just was non-existent this year. It's just hard. That's a tough position.
I think that question is kind of unfair. So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Give me 2 names outside of the 4, now 5, since Spears was discussed. 4 that we discussed that you think could turn into at least a good piece of an offense for the foreseeable future.
Oof.
If you don't have it, that's fine.
I don't have any on hand that I'm really feel confident in saying being a piece. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
How did you feel? Because you guys played Kansas State in the bowl game, right?
yeah, Deuce Vaughn,
How'd you feel about him?
uh, small. He's got the breakaway speed, but
Could he be Sproles 2.0?
I don't see him as much of a. Sproles was like almost like a wide receiver. I mean, he ran some
Yeah.
too, but it seemed like he was catching a lot. Possibly, but I think he's really small, isn't he?
Yeah, he's small. Deuce is small. I think I can pull up
Like I
his.
think he's like 5'6".
No,
Like
yeah, he's.
they
I
were
think it's
running
like
plays against us where he was like hiding behind the offensive line and like making cuts, like ducking behind their rear ends.
let's see, Deuce Vaughn 5'5".
Yeah, he's little.
Yeah,
Like, and I just don't see that. Like, let me just put in DeAnthony Thomas. Whatever happened to him? And he was
nothing.
one of the most
He
electrifying.
was the Oregon Duck.
I mean, he was one of the most electrifying, other than I think Tavon Austin, that I've ever seen play college football at the skill position and no NFL
So there's
career.
running back that I think is going to get drafted on day 3 that I think's got good potential if given the proper situation, of course.
Yeah.
Of really becoming a name in the league. And it's Chase Brown out of Illinois. Good size, 5'10", 210,
Yeah.
4.43 speed. And he just, I feel like every single week I was looking at, the rushing leaders for the week. He was always at least top 3. Not saying, Illinois is a perennial powerhouse or anything like that, but it was, good to see just a different school being represented. And, outside of that, I mean, another guy I really like is Israel
Don't butcher it.
Abanaconda.
Good job.
Thank you.
I think.
It's just I feel like Pittsburgh backs translates the NFL well, and I don't know why. But let's see.
I do like Chase Brown. I mean, there was big talks of him at the beginning of the year too.
Oh yeah,
he was hyped up pretty big, and he lived up to it. So I could see a guy like him finding a role for sure. I'd put more stock into him than.
So let's get a little personal.
Okay.
Let's get into some Falcons draft talk. First thing I want to do is commend what the Falcons have done this offseason.
Absolutely.
Because in my opinion, they've made this first round very easy. Because before all those moves, you, me, Brian, we were all over the place with what we wanted them to do with that pick.
I'm still convinced.
Trade up, trade back, stay put and take this guy if he's there.
Yeah.
So let me hear what your dream scenario is.
Well, the dream. I said it from day one. I mean, the way dreaming, which is not going to happen. I think that set sail when Carolina traded up. Was of course I wanted us to trade up for Bryce. I do not think there's any chance of that happening. So I've kind of let that dream move on. And my next dream.
Let me interrupt really quick.
Okay.
Let's say, because there's still a lot of rumors going around that, I mean, anything can happen draft day.
It could.
Anthony Richardson could get taken at number 1.
Yeah, that's true.
So if Bryce Young is there at 3, are you sending the house?
Yeah, if you can get, I mean, not to hate on Desmond Ridder or a guy that really hasn't got the chance to play, but if you get an opportunity to take a guy that's in the class where Bryce Young's at, I think you go for it. It's the most important position in the
It is.
NFL, and I think if somebody's willing to talk, and you can get that guy, you go. I mean, it's franchise changing. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville has been irrelevant for I feel like my whole life, and what a couple years. I mean, they were almost going 0-16 or whatever before he gets there, and now they're making the playoffs. I mean, it's and you got to build around them. And I think we've got something built up, and I think you'd go for it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said.
So let's go with a more realistic dream scenario then.
Okay, my more realistic that could possibly happen, I think, would be get Will Anderson. If you got to trade, if you can trade up a couple spots, because I've seen everything from, like you said, the crazy stuff that happens. I've seen quarterbacks go in 1 through 4. So if he could drop all the way to 5 or 6, maybe, you never know what happens. You see an offensive lineman somehow squeak in there sometimes when you don't expect it or whatever. But if there would be a way to get Will Anderson, that would be another dream, just because that's a position of need badly.
Always, historically, for the Falcons.
Historically, I think I saw we've had 26 sacks in the last 2 seasons.
I wish I remember the stat, but it was like
second to last in the NFL, I think.
No, yeah, definitely. It's not even close either.
And you got to have pass rushers.
Yeah. Again, I think that the Falcons have done a phenomenal job at addressing our lack of pass rush. But I think the more realistic dream scenario of getting Will Anderson, especially if he drops to like 4, is insanely doable / should be done.
Yeah.
So what will likely happen? What will most likely happen in your eyes is what?
Most likely, I think now with the recent addition of, help me with his name, from Detroit, the defensive back.
Jeffrey Okudah.
Okudah, I think the most likely is, and I hate it, like I said, because I'm seeing a lot of it, is the Tyree Wilson. I really don't like that. But I think if Jalen Carter is available at 6, you take him.
Well, I think we're at 8.
I mean 8. If he's available at 8, you take him. But I see 1 of 3 scenarios, honestly, taking place. Taking out of what I want to happen, I think the most likely is Tyree Wilson. I don't know if Carter will make it to 8, personally. Or Gonzalez.
Yeah, same.
Or Gonzalez, which I would love. I already talked about him earlier, the defensive back from Oregon. I would love. And I know we addressed it, but we signed Okudah to a 1-year deal.
Right. Kind of a rental.
Exactly. It's rental. If this is a year, if we're not making the big move,
prove yourself.
How much do you trust Ritter to, lead? I mean, I would love for it to work out that way, but I don't see it, being a, fairy tale story exactly. But, I think if you can get another guy to lock down the other corner spot, I mean, I like it.
So what I think is going to happen, I'm not going to say what I think is going to happen because I want to talk into existence what I want to happen. You've got a QB that has started 4 games for you that you drafted last year in the 3rd round, 4th round, 3rd round, I think 3rd. You've got Drake London, who looked great. You got Kyle Pitts, who a lot of people didn't think had that good of a year, but if you think about all the overthrows that Mariota had to him in deep routes, he could have easily been 800 yards and 5+ touchdowns with all those overthrows. You've got a great line that we just re-signed as well. You've got a young running back as well as a very veteran running back. I'm missing one receiver. We went and got Jonnu Smith from New England, which I'm not like,
I don't get that. I don't get that at all.
but at the same time, he's very well versed with Arthur Smith's offense, so it's hopefully rejuvenates what he can do.
Yeah.
Why am I? I guess I'm not forgetting a receiver. No, but what I think they should do is when you have such a young QB and he's started such few games because you didn't give him the chance early enough in the previous year, go give him another weapon. Whether that's Quentin Johnson or whether that's Jackson Smith, I think it's between those two. You give him an extra guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm so dead set in my head on that being the only scenario I'm okay with that I'm going to be so disappointed come draft day.
I think I was with you on that for a little while, but I think I've moved against it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you like a lot of the secondary receivers too, and they're not going to go till.
I think there's a lot of value in good wide receivers in the second, third round. Because you see wide receivers come in all the time that make a big impact as a rookie.
Oh yeah,
and they're not always the big, and I'm not talking about a guy that comes in that just completely tears up the league, but a guy that's a good complement that helps open up space for Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
I mean, guys that come to mind, DK.
Yeah. There you go.
Dude that just signed with Cincinnati. T. Higgins.
Yeah.
The other guy for Seattle. What's his name? He's small.
Lockett.
Tyler Lockett. Like these are guys outside of the first round. I mean, you've definitely got your first round guys. You've got your Devontae Smith. You've got your the Cincinnati guy. Oh my God.
Jamar
Chase. You got. I'm drawing a blank on everyone's name right now. Jefferson. You got. You got guys that are from the first round that are definitely impact players, no doubt. Especially last year, Garrett Wilson. Great year. The other guy, great year. So, I mean, there's definitely ups and downs. I really want to lean towards getting the best one because I mean, I know Falcon fans will hate it. They'd be like, "Oh, back-to-back years of first-round wide receivers." But
I think a lot just depends what. I mean, I don't see us taking a wide receiver at 8. I don't love a receiver enough that now, like if Harrison was coming out from Ohio State, that dude,
he was unreal.
That dude, I would take at 8. You ain't gonna get him at 8, I don't think.
No,
the whole, the JSN sitting out. And I know he said he had a hamstring or whatever, but like,
it's definitely a question of character, in my opinion.
And I'm, and I can't say I understand. I mean, because there's a lot of money on the line, and it's a business decision. But at the same time, like, then you got guys like Will Anderson and I know biased again, but Will Anderson and Bryce Young who played in a non-playoff bowl game, and they've got more on the line than he does. So like that's the guys I want. If I'm running it's a business, and I want guys that are they're there to play ball, and like the money's good, and I know that's a part of it. That's how they're making their living. But like these dudes, they love the game, and that's what I want with a top 10 pick. So I don't know. What do you think about Bijan at 8?
I wouldn't hate it.
The safest. I feel like that's probably like one of the safest skill players you could take.
I definitely wouldn't hate it. I feel like there's bigger needs, but then
I
again, it's
agree.
like when you look at a team like the Cowboys and you think they kept drafting based off of best available in the first round and not need, and they kept
Right.
hitting on all those first round picks.
Yeah.
Their offense turned into a freak of nature. They had the best line, and then when they had good receivers, they went and got CeeDee Lamb
Yeah.
instead. Instead of going for a need, they went for the best available, who was CD,
Yeah.
and it's been a huge success. So I'm in the first round, 100%. I'd love to get a need, but if I get the best available and it ends up working out, you're not going to hear me crying about it in 2 years.
That's right.
And if we go after, for example, the year that we took Vic Beasley,
Ugh.
he worked out for a year.
Ugh.
He was a need, but he wasn't the best available.
Yeah.
So we went and got the best need available, and it ended up not working. And honestly, ended up costing Dimitrov his job.
We need to trade up and get the best available and the need filled. That's what we need to do. But
Hot takes,
see.
future.
It's going to be an interesting draft. I'm excited for it. There's a lot. I feel like this is the most excited I've been for one in a while.
I think we're most excited because we've made some insanely good moves prior to it.
Yeah.
So we're not so dependent on it because of the moves we made prior to it.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. But even all around, like what we've been talking about, where these guys are going to go. Like, because where did the Raiders pick? Because they're going to do something stupid. They do something stupid every year.
Let's see.
They always
While
do.
I look for that, do you have any hot takes that you would like to bring up, discuss?
Hot take. My number one.
The Raiders pick. Sorry, I hiccuped. I think I just saw it right before the Falcons.
They pick 7.
They're 7th. So they're going to take Tyree Wilson.
Good.
We're good.
That's good. That's really good. That means that we're basically drafting 7th. Because they're going to take somebody like they're going to take something crazy. Huh?
Tyree Wilson.
I mean, no, they're going to do something crazy. I hope they take him so he's not available. But, all right. My first hot take, if I was drafting 15 or lower, I would
when you
take
say lower, just so we
15
specify.
to 32.
Thank you.
I would take Gibbs over Bijan Robinson. Yep.
And just to be clear, earlier in the show, you were talking about my biasness.
It's a hot take, bro. Biases are out the window on hot takes.
I'll take it. That is absolutely insane and not going to happen.
Gibbs,
bless you, my son.
Take your bias out of it. How about that? Take your bias out of it.
Where did you
say you went to school before? No, you can't say I'm biased and you claim that he didn't even go to my school. Ooh. Anything to respond to that?
What else you got?
Because technically, from your eyes, he's from Georgia Tech. So, but look, that's just my hot take. And I saw Bijan. We played against him, and he's a stud, no doubt about it. But I like Gibbs, the total package.
Okay.
He's not small.
You're saying Gibbs is RB1 of the draft?
I don't think NFL is as smart as I am.
What I'm saying is after, let's say, going into their second contract, what is that, 3 years down the road, 4 years?
Okay. Yeah.
What is that, right?
Yeah, it's 4 with a fifth-year option, I believe.
Right,
Is
right,
what
right.
it's saying.
So let's say going into that year, and this is your hot take, Gibbs' numbers will be superior than Bijan's.
If you look at everything, yes.
Okay,
Yep,
there you go.
I do believe so.
That is your hot take. I like your boldness. And let's see. I think my hot take has nothing to do with the rookies and more so to do with one of the biggest stories of the offseason, which is Lamar Jackson. I think the Ravens getting Odell was definitely a look how interested we are in you. Is he taking a poop back there?
No,
Um,
not.
I think the team that goes for Lamar waits until after the draft so that they can get this year's first round and still pick and then trade the first rounders for the future years for Lamar to come in. That way they get Lamar, but they're also getting a first round weapon if they want it. So I think a Lamar trade happens post draft.
That's interesting.
To who? I have no idea. And I think the Jets at least show interest in him to try and get the Packers to giddy up the process.
I also heard Rogers came out on an interview with McAfee or somebody. He said he was like 90% retired.
So whoever you read that from only gave you that portion of the interview.
So it was
the interview
the rest
was
of it.
going into the black hole, whatever he did that retreat.
ayahuasca journey.
Yeah, that. Going into that, he was 90% in his head retired.
Oh, okay.
Coming out of it, he was like, I'm ready to go again.
He switched it up.
Yep.
Okay. I gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, going into that, he was 90-10 retired.
I gotcha.
So I think that's a pretty good.
That's interesting call.
Yeah. Trying to think. I think we've got pretty good everything covered for episode 1.
I feel good about it.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to?
Also, just for the everybody out there, we have a bet going on a hot take that Sean and one of our other good friends, Brian, and our other friend Spencer, who actually all just came to visit me. Great surprise, by the way, for my birthday weekend. Didn't even know. Sean and them set it up. They came from Florida, Georgia, all around the place, and surprised me up at the lake. We had a great weekend. And we've got a bet, and I believe it's, what did we end up betting? Like, what's it, like
it's
like a bunch of wings?
It's solely based on Stetson Bennett.
But it's steak dinner, or what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it can be any dinner.
It's a big dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
The other two have to cook. So me and Spencer have. So you've got to hit 2 out of the 3.
Yes, Foo and the fake dog fan. Continue.
No, it's just a dog fan that's realistic. Stetson goes undrafted. This is 1. 2 is he's not on the team, not on an NFL team. I think we said 28, which kind of is bad.
Sounds right.
Because he's already like 27 and a half, probably old. And then he never gets a start in an NFL game. So that's our big bet for
preseason counts.
Preseason does not count. Sean's trying to put asterisks on this thing already.
No, that was Brian. Don't do that. That was Brian. You know it.
Yeah, or Brian, either way. So that's our big ongoing bet for the year, or I guess for the next 3 years. Because Stetson graduates college at 25 years old, the first person to ever do it other than
Yeah, Brandon Whedon. You're right.
Fire
First.
Red. Yeah, Fire
Yeah,
Red.
Brandon Whedon.
But he at least went and played like
Chris Winkie.
ball or something. Stetson just did drunk in public.
I see.
On people's
So
doors
we're just throwing digs
guys.
now.
Stealing, Hall of Fame NBA players' nicknames. So
You're one to talk.
my guy's nickname,
Nikola Jokic. Anyway.
So that's what we got going on. Anyway, I enjoyed it. It's fun. First little trial at this. We're going to keep rolling on this thing.
Yeah, to be honest, we're not really sure what we want this to turn out to. We're just kind of going with the flow with this. If it might turn into a live thing, it might turn into, we send the whole video out, and it might turn into like, little snippets here and there. We're just, kind of feeling it out. We both enjoy talking sports. We enjoy arguing about sports, and I enjoy correcting him on most of the stuff he talks about. So,
jeez.
Other than that, what happened?
You did not correct me on anything.
I see.
Coming from the guy that was scared of TCU.
You're taking that completely out of context.
We'll save that for another time.
That's fine. That's fine.
We enjoyed it. We're just going to keep rolling with this thing, and we'll see where it goes. I'm excited about it. It's fun. We do this anyway, so we might as well put it out there for some other people to see. That's kind of the idea behind it. Just we talk sports all day, all the time. We've always done it since we were little kids. It's something that we've done, forever. So we just figured, why not get it out there and why not have a little fun with it and see where it goes. So that's all I got.
I appreciate everyone for tuning in, listening, and we're gonna try and build this thing up into something. That's my plan, is to build this up into something big, not like huge, but something big. Have fun with it. I know we got another episode coming, probably post first round, maybe after the first 3 rounds. I have a little trip planned to go visit big guy over here, and we're gonna do second episode. Then we might do another one before that, but I think it's gonna be the second episode. Is probably gonna be that one. So be ready for that one. Hope everyone had a good time. Hope you had a good time, and we hope our mascot Hootsy had a great time. I can hear him, so I think he's having a great time.
I don't even know where he is. That's dangerous. But I enjoyed it. Hope everybody else did.
All righty. We're out.
Wilde Sports out.